Hi, Reggie here speaking about healing America's narratives. Today we're going to address the ninth of the nine traits of our country's collective national shadow. Just a real brief review, the previous eight traits that we've dealt with already are ignorance, arrogance, fear, bigotry, violence, greed, excess, and bullying. And today we're actually going to take a close look at untrustworthiness, which is the ninth of nine. I think I mentioned all nine there when I just said them. I'm not sure. But anyway, untrustworthiness has as its primary, but by no means only example, as a trait of America's shadow, the history of the United States federal government in dealing with Native Americans. Hundreds of treaties were entered into, and every one of them was broken. Anytime that the government realized that more immigrants were coming and we needed more land, or any time that, especially in the southern states, but not only there, that the plantations needed more access to land that was east of the Mississippi River, we simply broke treaties that we already had with Native Americans and took their land. And often we would negotiate to try to get them to change the terms of the treaties. And when they refused, we just simply made believe the treaties weren't there. It got to the point that in 1903, the Supreme Court, in a ruling entitled Lone Wolf versus Hitchcock, basically ruled that the United States Congress could change the terms of any treaty, which basically means break the treaty, without the consent of the tribes who were party to that treaty. So that's I think the largest, most egregious example. But if we look historically at the number of proclamations, declarations, legislations, and rulings that the United States has put into place in order to realize equality for African Americans, for women, and for other groups, you can see again the untrustworthiness. You really can't rely on them to get it done. Current times, here in the third decade of the 21st century, if you look at the dysfunction of our elected officials, especially but not only in Congress, where we can't even rely on them to put their political bickerings aside and deal with the needs of the people. Right? On both the left and the right, a lot of what's done in the Senate and in the House of Representatives is done for political backstabbing, political quid pro quo, rather than trying to get legislation done that will help the American people. So there are many, many examples of this untrustworthiness. Take a look at what happened to the Vietnam vets when they came home. Basically, first, the way they were treated, but then second, how they were treated once we recognized that the after effects of Agent Orange were killing more vets once they were home than had actually died in combat in Vietnam. And we repeated the same scenario. We continued to repeat the same scenario with the vets of the Afghanistan and Iraqi wars, based on the health effects of the burn pits that were used in both of those countries in post 9/11 wars in those two countries. So there is this lack of trustworthiness to do the right thing, or at least a good thing, in American history, and it continues today. So I apologize for being the bearer of bad news, but it's necessary for us to see this shadow, own it, integrate it, if we are in fact going to heal this nation and move forward with some kind of wholeness. So again, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you the next time.